What's up, movie fans? So I hope that you guys are all staying safe at home right now with everything that's going on right now. Since Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe are two things that I talk about and love, I decided it would be fun to compare the finale of both of their sagas. So the finale to the Infinity Saga, Avengers Endgame, and the finale to the Skywalker saga, The Rise of Skywalker, and just figure out which one truly concluded the franchise better. Now, I'm going to be doing this the same exact way I did when comparing all three Star Wars trilogies. I'm going to compare different categories. So, with this, it's going to be heroes, villains, action, and story. Those were all things that I compared in the trilogies video, but since overall quality won't really work with one movie, I'm going to compare at the end how they concluded each of the franchises. Let's just start with round one.
Round one, fight!
Heroes. And just like the main characters of the movie in general. For Endgame, the main heroes are kind of obvious. It's the 6 original Avengers, Ant-Man, Nebula, War Machine, and Rocket. And no, I'm not going to be including Captain Marvel in main heroes because she didn't really do anything in Endgame. Like, she basically only appears at the beginning to save Tony, and then during the final battle, she is literally written out completely of the second half of the movie. I mean, like, the first half. Or the middle. Yeah, the middle. Well, with War Machine and Rocket, I don't really think that they did a lot in this movie, honestly. They were just kind of there. I did include them in main characters, however, because they are in the time heist, so I figured I might as well include them. And then with Ant-Man, he does a lot at the beginning of the movie when he tells the Avengers about the time machine, and then he's just like War Machine and Rocket, he's just kind of there for the rest of the movie. Doesn't really do a lot. With the other 7 characters, however, I think that all of them are great. Hawkeye and Nebula are 2 characters that I have never really liked in the MCU. I thought that Hawkeye was definitely, underused in other movies. His first big appearance, apart from Thor, I guess, was in Avengers, where he's the villain for most of the movie. In Captain America Civil War, he's totally shooted there. He's not even in Infinity War, and the only other appearance that he has, Age of Ultron, he is kind of a prominent part in it, but still, after that, he doesn't do a lot. In this movie, I was really happy to see that they gave him a really interesting character arc that shows, his family from Avengers Age of Ultron getting dusted and him having to deal with it, and I thought that it was really interesting. And then with Nebula, her character arc, which I never really liked her character arc in the previous 3 movies she was in, but in here, they finally pay it off in a great way. Hulk and Thor, I'm still kind of divided on how I feel about them in this movie, because Hulk, they completed his character arc off screen, and Thor didn't really have a complete character arc, so I'm not entirely sure about them. I still think that they did have some great moments, like when Hulk snaps and when Hulk mentions Thanos' name and Thor, freaks out about it. I thought that that was a great scene. Now, with Cap, Iron Man, and Black Widow, they are all great in this movie. Their character arcs are completed. Well, Black Widow, kind of. She's getting a movie at some point this year. Maybe. Possibly. We don't really know. In Avengers Endgame, her arc that was introduced in the Avengers seems to finally be complete, and it was completed great. And Iron Man and Cap just... Do I really have to explain why Iron Man and Cap are great in this movie? I think that you guys already know. So now, with Rise of Skywalker, they have 7 main heroes. Rey, Finn, Poe, Leia, Chewbacca. I am going to include him, even though he doesn't play that big a role. C-3PO, and I know that technically he's a villain for most of the movie, but really Palpatine's the main villain in Rise of Skywalker, so also Kylo Ren. Starting off, Rey, I don't care what anyone says about her character. I think that her character is great in all 3 of these movies, and I think her arc is paid off really well here. I actually like the idea of her being a Palpatine. I do have to admit, it's not executed well. If that was really the original plan, they should have done it in Last Jedi. I still think that it's fine. Then, with the other characters, though, C-3PO, I think actually is great. Like, he's really funny in this movie. Like, it is a repeat of how he acted in Empire, but who cares? Like, he's still funny. Leia, I'm shocked with how much they were able to do with her with the limited stuff that they had. I don't think she's amazing, but how would they have made her that amazing? They didn't really have a lot of footage to use. Kylo, of course, is like the best character in the sequel trilogy. His redemptive arc, him being conflicted, it's so interesting, and it's paid off here in one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. The scene where Han Solo, the memory of Han Solo, talks to Ben, I thought was amazing. With the other 3 characters, I don't really know. Like, Chewie, I thought that if he would have actually died, I was kind of conflicted on how I felt about him actually dying when I first saw this movie, because, for one thing, they kill him off screen. Well, they don't really kill him off, but if they had, they would have killed him off screen, which is just terrible for such a, like, iconic character. But at the same time, it was such a powerful moment that I was like, well, I don't really know what I think about this. When it was revealed that he wasn't dead, I was kind of relieved, but also kind of bummed out because they ruined that powerful moment. So, yeah, it is what it is, I guess. And then with Poe and Finn, they were totally wasted. They kind of had stuff interesting happening. I liked their, like, banter throughout the movie. Poe kind of had an arc, and Finn meets some other stormtroopers, rogue stormtroopers. But besides that, what's their real contribution to the plot? What do they actually do that's interesting? Nothing. They wasted their characters. So I'm gonna give Endgame this round. I think win! Endgame handles its characters better, even if 2 of them are kind of just shooted there. 2 of them I'm conflicted on how I feel about them. I still think that Endgame handles characters better. Moving on. Villains. Round 2, fight! There's only 1 villain in each of these movies. I know Kylo Ren's technically a villain, but I'm not counting him as one. In Endgame, it's Thanos. In Rise of Skywalker, it's Palpatine. These are 2 characters I was really excited to see in both of these movies, because with Thanos, he's really interesting in Infinity War. He's trying to save the world in his own twisted way, which is interesting to me. And with Palpatine, I just like how manipulative he can be in the other movies. He literally manipulates both sides of the Clone Wars so that he can eliminate both of them and then create an empire with him on the top of it. Like, that's so insane, honestly. But then, I ended up not liking either of them in the finales. With Thanos, his big problem is They take out everything that was interesting about him in Infinity War and just make him another generic bad guy. And with Palpatine, I like him in this movie, but they totally gloss over his return. So, yeah, I didn't really like either of them. I have to say I would like Palpatine more because at least Palpatine, is in the movie more and feels like a genuine threat throughout it, when Thanos only really shows up halfway through the movie and then, becomes a threat in the third act, but he really wasn't, a looming presence throughout the whole movie. So, I'm gonna give Rise of Skywalker 1 point here.
You
now
win!
They're tied, both with 1 point. Moving on to the third round.
Round 3,
we
fight!
have action. Now, Endgame, at this point, its final battle has become iconic. Its final battle is amazing. It has, this entire army of heroes just fighting off, this entire army, Thanos' entire army, and it's so cool. It's one of the most satisfying film finales ever. But besides that, there's not really a lot of action in Endgame. I was shocked with how little action there was. I was still satisfied because I loved the final battle, but besides the Cap versus Cap battle, was there really any other action sequences? And then with Rise of Skywalker, I think that all of its action sequences are really, really good, especially the lightsaber battle on Endor. That sequence was really cool. I loved, all the flips and stuff. That was a fun sequence. I also liked the final battle on Exegol. I know it has problems, but I liked the Exegol battle. Overall, I'm gonna give it to Rise of Skywalker here.
You win!
Because, it does have more action, but Endgame still has better action. So, Rise of Skywalker takes 2 points, Endgame with 1. 2 more rounds left. Round 4, we're gonna have story here.
Round 4, fight!
With Rise of Skywalker, I think that right at the beginning of the movie, the story is, really, really just, slow down. Just, the beginning of the movie moves so fast, it's tough to process everything that's going on. And yes, the fast pacing and the fun is part of what's good about Rise of Skywalker, but it really doesn't help the beginning of the movie. The beginning just moves too fast. With Endgame, though, I think that the pacing was perfect. Rise of Skywalker, I think, had good pacing after the beginning, but the beginning really does, overall kill the story for me. Plus, it's weird with the Palpatine stuff, how he was returned is glossed over, even though that should be a big part of the story. Rey being a Palpatine was kind of weird. It's all executed weirdly. With Endgame, I think that the story is great, and my only real flaw with it would be that some of the time travel stuff is really confusing. Besides that, it's great. So Endgame takes that round.
You win!
Tied. So now, moving into the finale of this video is actually the finale of the franchise. Which movie concludes the franchise better?
Final round, fight!
I'm just gonna straight up say it's Endgame.
You win!
I did like the Rise of Skywalker's finale to the franchise. I know that a lot of people didn't, but I did. But Endgame just concludes everybody's arc in such an interesting way and just feels so satisfying, just that I immediately have to say Endgame. So Endgame takes the last point, and overall it wins the round. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Keep staying home, subscribe and like the video, and see ya, movie fans.